All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dom and God Sports Talk, the show where we not only talk everything Ravens, although we might talk a ton this episode, but around the NFL. I'm Gonz. That's Dom. Welcome back. All right. So we are days away, just a few days from Baltimore Ravens 2023 training camp, and rest training camp around the NFL as well. We are officially in full swing for 2023 NFL season preparation. I can't be more excited.
I'm doing good, man.
Dom,
Ready
how
for
you doing
some
tonight?
football. We are a couple of weeks away. Getting into the training camp. We already see some clips from some teams. It's definitely interesting going in from this about to go into the season. But yeah, man, I'm hyped.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we've got a couple things to discuss tonight. Lots of interest about the running back controversy starting to spread around the NFL like a disease. Started with just a few guys and sort of, carried over to other people around the league. Other people, even though are already, signed to contracts, even speaking their voice for their fellow running backs. This is becoming a pretty big deal. I know I didn't believe it was going to be a huge deal earlier. We had this discussion, a few weeks ago. But it's sort of blossomed into a pretty big thing. So before we talk about some Ravens things, let's talk about these a little bit. Starting with Derrick Henry. Remember this?
I do.
Yes. Uh-huh. And then I believe it was other guys speaking out too, like Najee Harris. I saw he posted a tweet. And yeah, even most recently, I saw Austin Eckler is scheduling a Zoom meeting for all the big name running backs around the NFL to discuss the market. So what are your opening thoughts on this? Oh, and Saquon Barkley is another big name, obviously. Sitting out camp, still on the franchise tag, feels like he's being disrespected. So what are your thoughts on all this before we
dive into
it?
My opening thought is pay him. And I know as I'm only speaking from a fan perspective. I can't speak on. Yeah, I'm talking about.
Are you talking to these running backs, or are you
yes,
talking about?
I say you got to pay him.
Gotcha.
And now I understand certain arguments made against paying running backs, like Jason's point, like the rookie running back in ATL. If he is really the one who's making the most money, that's absolutely absurd. But I don't know that for sure yet. But in my case right now, there are some running backs. I can't speak for all of them, not every single one in the league, but there are some running backs who make their team a lot better. The big names that we're speaking of, Derrick Henry. What the hell are the Titans without Derrick Henry? Please tell me. If anybody can tell me what they are, I'm listening to you. I really am, but I don't know what they are without him.
I mean, aerial attack with Ryan Tannehill and Treylon Burks.
Come on, man.
And now DeAndre Hopkins.
Come on now. Who else? Saquon Barkley. You telling me right now Daniel Jones is better off without Saquon Barkley? I'm just speaking from those perspectives. Running backs who make their team just as dynamic if they weren't on it. Like if they weren't on that team. Austin Eckler, I feel as though is a great dynamic back. He scored a lot of touchdowns for the Chargers last year. He's pretty much been like the cat. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's like the main catalyst for this like upbringing of the running backs needing to be paid, but he's definitely been very, very vocal on running backs being paid. I mean, like he scored a lot of touchdowns last year. He accounted for a lot of the Chargers touchdowns last year. He was a beast. Like these guys, Dalvin Cook. I'm not saying he's like greatest running back of all time, but damn it, he's been a top 5 rusher for the past like 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Like these guys who make their teams great, I feel as though they deserve that money, in my opinion. Like I just think as though like without them, these teams aren't doing that much. Now the Vikings and Dalvin Cook is an interesting situation because like you have dynamic receivers, you have Jettas. You had Thielen, but now he's with the Panthers, so we see how that goes for him. You got KJ Osborne, you have TJ Hockenson, so you have weapons that you could throw to in Minnesota. That's an interesting situation for them. New York, I'm sorry, I don't mean disrespect to the receivers. I'm not really sure if Daniel Jones is doing all that by himself without Saquon in the backfield as a running threat. That's just me. I just don't think that's going to give. Herbie with the Chargers. Obviously, you have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, but at the same time, we haven't really seen them like be able to be successful because of a lot of injuries. But Austin Eckler, he's been consistent. Like he's a consistent back, who gives you production not only in the running game but also in the passing game. So he's been pretty good on both sides. So I don't know, man. In my estimation, some of these guys do deserve that money. And I just think if you like running backs are pretty much being disrespected right now, and I'm not ready for it. And that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I agree. At the beginning, when it was just a few guys speaking out, Saquon, I was making some excuses for potential reasons why they weren't being paid. Saquon Barkley has dealt with significant injuries over this first few years in the league, and I felt that the Giants were just being cautiously optimistic about dumping their funds into a big contract for him. I felt like this year would be a big one for him to just demonstrate one more time that he can stay a full season, because I'm telling you, he's dealt with some really bad injuries, and then he would come back from those injuries and get hurt immediately again. And I didn't question the Giants' standpoint of that, because that's very, very frustrating. Like if you pay your big guy, he comes back and he's not able to play in these big games. What's the point of spending all your money when you could go out and get some other person that could play or upgrade another position? And then for Dalvin Cook, are you aware of the news from Dalvin Cook that's arose over the past few weeks? Or why he's not signed?
Why is he not signed?
Tom?
So,
say that again. Are you aware? Oh, okay. So, if you guys did know, this is perfect. He's involved in criminal activity. He's about to go to court for some sort of assault on his ex-girlfriend, and then that he tried earlier to pay her off with $800,000. This is what I read online, so I don't know if this is 100% true, but I think so. It would if it is, it would make sense why he's not signed, because he's a very good running back. So he first started with $800K to try to pay her off. She declined, and then he raised it to $1 million, and she also declined. And now she's sort of now in that process of exposing what happened and about to go to court. So this could be trouble for Dalvin Cook, big time. And that would definitely explain why a team has not pounced on him, because he's still got some good football left in him. Even though he has also, similar to Barkley, suffered for a significant time without, playing. He's had a lot of bad injuries, but he's been pretty healthy recently, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong. He did play a lot last year. I think he played the whole year, right? The past 2 years, I think he's been good. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But I just think that was shocking why nobody had signed him, because he's been released now for a few weeks, at least 2 or 3. So that would make sense. And then you're moving on to some other guys. Same thing for J.K. Dobbins. He's dealt with injuries. Can he get over that hump? And we had this discussion before. We had this discussion before on here, previous episodes. Can he demonstrate that he can get over this injury, this knee injury, and go back to his form as a rookie? Because I thought that was his best. I want that J.K. back. The rookie year J.K. was amazing. He had the speed, the power, and everything. So I thought, similar to the Giants, cautiously optimistic. I don't think it's as bad as Barkley, because, Barkley has been in the league a lot longer and missed a lot more seasons due to injury. This is JK's first major injury, so it's not as severe in my opinion. But then you get to other guys like Austin Eckler and what's his name for the Raiders? Josh Jacobs. And it's like, okay, I'm kind of running out of excuses to why this is happening, because Austin Eckler is a very, very dynamic back, in my opinion. Not just because he's not really, in my opinion, for running. I think the threat of catching out of the backfield just makes that Chargers offense so much more of a threat. He can do it all. He's good with the ball in his hands as well. So him, taking this 1-year deal, I feel for him on that. I really think he deserves a bigger contract. I know he's 28 years old. Maybe that's a factor on why the Chargers aren't paying him. But I think he should be able to still get a substantial amount of money just because of his production over the years. I mean, I don't know. Had a very low profile coming into the league. Wasn't a high draft pick. He sort of worked his way up to the top of the running back depth chart for the Chargers, and has really, did his thing, established himself into a premier receiving back. And I really think he does deserve his money. Same thing for Jacobs. He makes that Raiders offense a lot better in the backfield. I don't think he's as dynamic as Eckler, receiving, but he definitely does get it done. He was definitely an option for Derek Carr when he had to get the ball out quick. Of course, you remember that Seattle game where he took that 60-yarder in overtime all the way down. That was awesome. I think he deserves his bread too because, the Raiders offense isn't the same without him. He's sort of always been there. So I think he definitely deserves it as well. So earlier when we had this discussion, I wasn't all in on it, but I definitely agree more now that the running backs do need to be paid. Because, not everybody is just suffering from injuries. A lot of these guys are doing their thing, and it's still an issue. So I think that the NFL should try to get this straightened out because these guys do need their money. They put their bodies on the line every week, getting hit every time they get the ball.
They need the
money.
And that's all I'm saying. Like, these guys make their teams. Like, you got the CMCs, the Derrick Henrys, the Austin Ecklers, the Josh Jacobs. Like, these guys who are beneficial more to their team, less detrimental to their team. Like, these guys get on the field and they put in the effort each and every time. And these are the guys who deserve to get paid because they're putting on for their team every single time. Like, so, and
yeah. And it's guys that are not just like I said earlier, if it was just people like Saquon Barkley or just the people like J.K. Dobbins, because, I wouldn't be as uptight about this because, they have dealt with injuries and teams could just be being optimistic. But now when you've got these big namers that don't deal with injuries, or at least significant injuries,
it's an issue.
It becomes an issue.
Like that Zoom
because
call
they
last
really
night. I saw a quote on Twitter today saying that Nick Chubb was on that call last night, by the way, like one of the big names who was on that call. And he was saying, dude, there's nothing we can do until the NFL is like, bro, until something is done, because this is getting bad. And I'm really happy to see that even though some of the running backs that did get extensions and did get paid are also just like stepping in for their fellow running backs and being like, you know what, this ain't it. I'm glad that they're all coming together because this is what it takes for change to happen. It takes multiple people to come together and say, listen, we're not going to put up with this anymore. And I agree with Derrick Henry. Like, if you're not going to pay them, take the position out of the game. If that's what you're going to do. But it's going to be awkward as hell if you do that. Like, man, like a team without the running back has been around since the beginning of football. Like, so you can't sit here and just disadvantage them because like I said, there's good pros and cons to paying a running back. We've all seen it. We've seen the pros and we have seen the cons. That's inevitable, obviously, with any investment, right? Any investment we make in life is going to be pros and it's going to be cons. But at the end of the day, if those pros are 9 times out of 10 outweighing those cons, why aren't you taking that risk? That's my big thing about this. It's just like these guys who have put in the time, who have put in the effort, who are putting in the work day in and day out, doing the best to help their team win by any means necessary, are getting disrespected. And it's not right to me. Like, these owners, these GMs, they have to look themselves in the mirror and say, listen, we have a franchise running back at our disposal right here, and he should be at least worth what he's asking for. And that's all I'm saying. Like, these guys, I feel like they deserve the pay and they should be getting it. That is just as simple. Will this happen? I don't know. I hope GMs open their eyes and realize, like, this needs to happen. Like, shoot, we see all the labor strikes that are going on in just regular jobs. So imagine if the NFL running back said, listen, we're just not going to show up to work. Like, you, obviously, some of them, like, obviously there are people who will easily just be like, oh, hey, I'm off the street, but I'll take this opportunity. But still, like, who's going to this is also speaking for like running backs who will be coming into the league in the future. Like, look at how this position isn't getting respected the way that it's being respected. How are running backs who want to come into the NFL looking at this now like, dang, if this position is really getting disrespected like this, like, what is this really what we want? Like, it's detrimental to the game, in my opinion. And this just, it doesn't give a bright future for running backs right now. You just got to pay them, man. Like, these guys who work hard, pay them. That's just my last 2 cents on it, because it's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, we're about to move to the Ravens training camp, but I want to address Jason's comment earlier about, he said it's unfortunate to hear about Dalvin and the NFL chooses who gets blacklisted. That's 100% true. We've had another big discussion we've had on this channel. You get suspended an entire year for sports betting, but Deshaun Watson gets an 11-game ban. Ray Rice hits his girlfriend and knocks her out, drags her off the elevator, and is gone. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Back in 2014? That was the end of him forever. It just doesn't look good when it comes to girlfriends and assault with physical contact. It does not look good for Dalvin Cook. And listen, if you're going to ban people for sports betting the full season, it should be an automatic that if you're involved with any sort of activity like that with, assault or, sexual harassment in Deshaun Watson's case, you should be suspended indefinitely, because that, in my opinion, is way worse than gambling. I don't care what you say. When you're putting somebody else's health and safety at risk, that should automatically be a substantial punishment. And I really don't like how the NFL handles this stuff, because it kind of evens the playing field for some of these things. Because think about it, gambling should not be on the same
assault,
level as
or any type
assault,
of assault. Yeah,
or sexual harassment, any of those. Like, the NFL is kind of saying in a way that gambling is just as bad as hurting somebody or assaulting somebody. No. I mean, yes, gambling is bad. I'm not encouraging it by any means, but you gotta even the playing field. Like, here, you have to make a sort of a hierarchy at this point. Like, if you're going to do something about gambling, you need to do something about the rest of
Calvin Ridley should not have been suspended a whole year.
Can't just make
last year for gambling or any of these
or
guys.
These guys
like
you either.
Like, there has to be
especially
medium.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not against if you want to ban them the whole year, actually, but you got to make the punishment for sexual assault or, abuse or any of that just as bad, if not worse.
I agree.
In my opinion. I don't feel like they're doing that.
They're not doing that.
So if you want to make it a season-long suspension for gambling, that's fine, but you got to make sure that the other punishments are just as bad or worse. You cannot shorten it for some of these guys, because that makes it look like favoritism. Yeah, and I don't want to even get into that.
Just in favor of the ratings, but it's just like, oh shoot, this guy's gonna bring more ratings, so we'll punish him. But like, maybe he can come back like a couple of games. You know what I mean? Like, it should not be any leniency.
Yeah. I don't like at all what they're doing. That's terrible. We had a long conversation about that back when all those Colts and Lions players got suspended for the year.
Was suspended, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he one of those players who was suspended? Well,
he was
games,
only suspended for
I can't remember the full punishment for that,
but some of these, Indianapolis has lost a whole cornerback. Isaiah Rodgers, he was a starter, or at least a high depth backup, and they released him. He's an unsigned free agent right now. Nobody wants to pick him up because he can't play.
I mean, but also,
I don't know.
I agree.
The NFL's got to work on
some things, but also these guys got to understand. Like, listen, let's You know the penalty. Like, I'm just saying, like, I agree.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, obviously.
Should be more strict when it comes to a lot more things, but dog, you can't, like, you've seen these penalties get handed out. Like, you asking for it a little bit. So let's like, I hope these guys learn from their mistakes and understand, like, just don't bet. Don't bet on the NFL or anything.
Don't gamble. Don't gamble. And then the NFL just make the punishment for all these types of violations same thing.
Or just be strict with the gambling, and then just take this more serious stuff a lot more seriously, because there's no reason why I'm
Yeah.
out for a year because I gamble on a couple of games, but then I see a guy who's accused of assaulting like 95 women on the field after 11 games. Like
Yeah.
I'm not cool with that. And honestly, if I was Ridley, I'm sure this year he's probably going to come back with a vengeance, so I can't really get mad at that. But at this point, I would be irate after I see that judgment being passed out. Like that's absolutely ridiculous, ridiculous.
And I know he missed a few years while he was just kind of sitting back in the shadows. He was still on the Texans roster, but he missed 1 year. Was it one full year with the Texans? I don't remember.
At least, at least
At
one.
least
I think
one.
it was actually. You know
So,
what? I think you're right. I think he did miss that full year, and then that's when the trade happened.
Yeah.
For him to go to the Browns. Yeah.
Right. So when the NFL actually addressed it, like formally addressed it, it was a 6-game ban, and then they moved it to an 11-game ban. That's just unacceptable, in my opinion. But anyway, we should get moving. Let's go ahead and talk about training camp. So we've got the list of inactives for the start of training camp. This includes wide receiver Mike Thomas, linebacker Tyus Bowser, Rashad Nichols, that new guy they picked up, that new D tackle they picked up at the end of the offseason, Patrick Ricard, Pepe Williams, this is huge for him, and our friend J.K. Dobbins, probably the biggest name on that list. So, Dom, what do you – and by the way, Bateman was on there, but just a few hours today, Baltimore removed him, and he is set to participate on Tuesday. So that is great news. I was really happy to hear that. So Lamar's got all his wideouts.
Which is what we need.
All his wideouts are ready for camp.
Great
that is
news.
The best news I've heard for the past few games since last year or 2 years ago. So anyway, looking at this list, the two names that stand out to me the most are Pepe Williams, J.K. Dobbins. Tyus Bowser, I'm not sure what's going on there, but I think he'll be fine. He should be eased back in pretty soon. But the reason Pepe Williams is on here is because this really is a lot. We have a lot of DBs this year, and we went over a few episodes back. We went over all the depth chart that the Ravens have currently, and it includes a ton of corners and DBs. So if he's missing time, this hurts his chances a lot. So this is his year. This is his second year with the Baltimore Ravens. Limited action as a rookie, of course, but this could be a chance for him to, take that next step and stay on this team. But if you're not here at the beginning, that gives other guys even more reps. So I'm hoping that it's nothing serious for Pepe, and he can come back as soon as he can, get back on there, play in the preseason, and try to keep his role, because there were a couple nice plays he had last year. I remember him breaking up a few things. And then, of course, J.K. Dobbins. We already know the story with him. And that'll tie in. Another thing we learned this week is we brought Melvin Gordon on board. So as soon as Melvin Gordon was signed, my instant reaction was like, uh-oh, somebody's hurt. And then the list came out, and we saw J.K. being on that list, so we were all a little bit panicked until Josina Anderson. I read a tweet from her a few hours after to say it was just a depth move for training camp to bring another, quote, talented player, unquote, onto the board or onto the roster, and that J.K. should be able to start pretty soon. Again, I'm going to take it like the Zay Flowers situation when he got hurt in minicamp. Don't care. I want to see it to believe it. And it seemed to work for him. Zay looks okay. So the same little pattern. JK, I want to see you on the field.
I agree.
So what do you think about all this? What do you think about all this?
I wouldn't be surprised if we see JK this week. What worried me at first about the JK stuff was that he was on that call last night involving the running backs. He was invited to that call. He was on it. Which makes sense because he's on a contract year, and these things. Obviously, he sees the way his running backs getting treated, so that's fair. But I would be safe to say that we'll see him this week. As far as the Melvin Gordon pickup, was kind of shocking to me. He hasn't really been himself on the cup like these past couple years or so. He hasn't really been that guy that he came into the league as, especially because heard he was like fighting for a spot even on the Chiefs practice squad, which was even more shocking to me. So I mean, if it's for depth, I can understand. He's a great veteran back. Probably helpful for Gus and JK to come in. As far as the injured list, I mean, other than Pat Ricard, I am glad to see that it's not anybody too detrimental not being able to report to training camp. Bateman scared me too coming in because like, oh goodness, please let Bateman be on this field. We need the cohesion for the unit. But he will be on the field. So that's great to hear. Those are probably my two biggest fears going into it because these are two key guys in for the offense this year. But again, as far as JK is concerned, I don't think, if anything, JK is going to want to be on the field because this is his time to show people like, dude, this is me. Like this is him coming off that big injury, still putting up good numbers last year, 5.9 yards a carry last year when he was coming back. So definitely not someone we want to sleep on this year. So I'm not too worried about it. I think if Gordon makes the roster cuts, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we have a great three-back rotation. I don't think we, messed that up or anything. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not really too worried about much. Hopefully JK comes in this year and just shows everybody who the heck he is because, I mean, that was my prediction going into the season. I'm standing on it. I'm standing my ground on it. I still feel as though he's going to come in and be great, averaging his 5.9. My biggest concern, though, is with Bateman coming back. I just hope that he can stay healthy through training camp. We've talked about this before, though. We know with the new strength and conditioning coach, I'm hoping that he can. So I'm hoping that he can stay healthy throughout the duration of camp. Let's just have a safe camp, please, because that's what we need. Because I just don't want any more excuses next year of, oh man, we were hurt, or oh man, this, that. I just want a healthy camp going into a healthy season. That's my main thing. But yeah, Melvin Gordon, great pickup. So let's see what happens, honestly. Yeah.
Don't forget about Justice Hill also. And then we also got that undrafted running back, Keaton Mitchell, who's also expecting to get a lot of touches in preseason and camp. So that could limit him a little bit. So that would mean he'd have to make the most of his opportunities. I don't know. I feel like there's still something deeper meaning here. I mean, Melvin Gordon is decent. He's had some issues with fumbling, which I don't like recently, especially on the Broncos. He does have the ability to, run routes and catch passes out of the backfield, so that's pretty good. But I don't know. I don't know how much time he would see if he were to make the roster. So I don't really see, if everything goes according to plan, I don't know if there would be a reason to keep him on the 53-man roster that they make in September after the preseason concludes. So we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts on Pepe Williams not starting training camp?
I feel as though he was the only. My thing about Pepe is I love him. The fact that he's used to our system and he's he knows what we're about over here at with the Ravens flock. So it's kind of hard to see him like not coming in for training camp. I'm wishing him a full on recovery for whatever he's dealing with right now. It would be great if we can see him this year because, like you said before, I felt like he made some really good plays last year. Because our favorite guy, Brandon Stevens, will be right there helping with. Brandon, we love you. We love you. We don't mean disrespect. We do love you. No, we do. We love you. We love you.
I love the guy. That's you and
no,
Jason.
I love Brandon
that's
Stevens.
you and
I have nothing problem with Brandon Stevens. It's just that he's had his moments where flags and all the other stuff we don't like, but. It sucks to see Pepe go down because, our secondary isn't – I'm not going to, bash our secondary. I do wish we would have had, another good veteran piece, a.k.a. Marcus Peters, to just having that, in that in that 3-DB set, in that 3-DB rotation. But hopefully, I'm wishing him a strong recovery. That's a good piece to see go down. But I mean, that could give another opportunity for that one DB we drafted, Caillou Blue Kelly. I mean, we'll see how he steps in.
Yeah.
getting those team reps. Hopefully he can fit in with the roster very well coming in the training camp. So we'll see. I mean, it's a next man up mentality, and I'm hoping that he can step into the role and play well. If Pepe is not good to go, so we'll see. I mean, I trust our defensive coordinator McDonald. He's kind of earned my respect as far as how we played last year. I think he's a great coordinator. So if he feels as though Caillou can step in and help, I'm agreeing with him 100% on that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be a really fun camp. We can't
Yes.
wait to discuss it next week. The first couple practices, it'll be broken down right here on Dom Gonz Sports Talk. We'd love to have you back for that. We can't wait. Just a few days away. Next thing I wanted to say or discuss, we've seen the Ravens now take interest in taking a veteran pass rusher over the past few days. First with Davion, I don't know if it's Davion or somebody, Smoot for the Jaguars, but he did end up re-signing with the Jags recently, so that was a nice pickup. He was very consistent as a pass rusher. He had
I think it's
3 or 4 straight years of 5 or 6 sacks. Just Mr. Consistent. We like that. But he went back to the Jags, so I'm happy for him. That's the team that drafted him and kept him. So that's good for him. But another guy that the Ravens have been eyeing is Kyle Van Noy, a sort of a Swiss Army knife, in my opinion. Bounced around a few teams. Started with New England. He played mainly pass coverage, middle linebacker, before going to the Chargers and starting to play a little bit more on the ball and rushing the passer. And he ended up getting some pretty good numbers last week. Hello, Keidra. Sorry. How you doing tonight? Just saw your comment. So how would you feel about bringing a guy like this on? This dude could definitely. Go ahead. I'll let you go
One
first.
thing Van Noy knows how to do is win. He's been with the winning culture before. I would like him to bring that. If we were to sign him, I would love for him to bring that to the Ravens, especially with the young pass rushing core that we have. I honestly thought we probably would have brought back Justin Houston. I mean, if we're looking at Van Noy, I'm guessing that's probably not going to happen. But I would love to have him on. I mean, with the Patriots, been with the Chargers, the guy, like you said, he can get to like a Swiss Army knife kind of guy that we would be beneficial to us because what do we complain about every time when it comes to the defense? Pass rush. And we haven't seen it consistently. So if we can get that from him, that would be nice. I think he's only like 33, so he's not like super old. You know what I mean? He's not like he's not like super old. So I feel as though that would be beneficial for us. He can give his knowledge to the young guys and, just help Owe, Ojabo, Tavius, Robinson, the rookie we just drafted. Just help these guys be able to learn how to get to the quarterback better. I would love to pick up if we would get him for like a 1 year. I wouldn't mind that at all. I'm just hoping that if we do bring him on, this would speak towards the pass rush because, again, I feel like not only us, but a lot of Ravens fans have been complaining about that. And we keep talking about how this year is so big for Owe going into this season. And so hopefully if he does come on, he can come in, tutor Owe and Ojabo, and so they can be good for this year. So I would love to pick up if we do get him, but we'll see. I don't know when he's expected to visit. I know he was just expected to visit. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I got a couple things wrong with his career. He actually has been around a little bit. He's 32 years old. He actually was drafted in 2014 by the Detroit Lions before going to the New England Patriots midway through the 2016 season. And then he stayed there the longest for 4 seasons before going to Miami in 2020. I didn't know that. And then he had a second stint with New England in 2021. They signed him to a 2-year deal, but due to cap restrictions, they had to release him in 2022, and that's where he went to the Chargers. So this guy is a seasoned vet, just right up the Ravens' alley. Started mainly, like I said, as a pass coverage person. And in his years at Detroit, he only totaled 2 sacks. But in New England, he had a lot of sack totals. They went way up. 2017, 5.5, 2018, 3.5, 2019, his best season as a pass rusher, 6.5. Okay. Had 6 sacks with the Dolphins in 2020 and 5 more in New England and 5 more in LA last year. So this dude is pretty consistent as a pass rusher, sort of like the Smoot
about 5
stats
6
that I was
seasons,
looking at last week. So this is good. I would like him only for the purpose of pass rush, because we really don't need coverage linebackers at this point, because we got Trenton Simpson, Patrick Queen, and of course Roquan. So he could be sort of a Tyus Bowser type of player. Tyus Bowser's always had pretty decent coverage skills. He's gotten a handful of interceptions in his career, and pretty good sack totals. So if they could use, they could have a Tyus Bowser on both sides. That would work out pretty well. If he could get, maybe if we brought him in, he had 5 sacks again, that could definitely help. And like you said, he could definitely develop those young guys, Ojabo, Owe. He could be a rotational player. I don't know, whatever the Ravens have in mind. Now, if he does, if he's not a rotational player, that could cut into some snaps for Ojabo or Owe.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But I don't even know. If they bring him on board,
I do too.
I think it's a good move. I really do, because it would give us that pass rusher, that veteran pass rusher that we've been looking for. Just in case, one guy. We don't need 2 or 3. Just that one guy that we've been talking about, whether it be Justin Houston or whoever. It could be Kyle Van Noy. I mean, either one would be fine with me. So I definitely like the move if they decide to pursue him. So we'll see how this visit
goes. I think
goes.
this would be a good fit for him, especially because we don't really know what's wrong with Tyus Bowser. We don't really know why he's on the PUP list. So if we don't have him, at least for training camp, I feel as though this is another good depth piece to have, coming in just in case we might not have Bowser. I feel as though Bowser has been struggling to stay on the field a lot lately. So, this could be another great piece to add just in case. And whatever happened with Tyus, we're hoping for another smooth recovery. Yeah, exactly.
Owe struggles again, or they can't get going, or need. So I like the move. I think they should go ahead and try to pursue him, but we shall see in the next few days. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up, but the last couple little things we want to talk about. We're getting close to Madden season. If you guys play Madden, let us know in the comments. I know I love playing Madden. I've played Dom a handful of times and won just about every single game.
I want the public to know that he has not beaten me every single time. I've won once. Just saying. So
I'm pretty sweat. I'm pretty good sweat. So if you let me play you, we could definitely arrange that too. Yours. But like I said, Madden 24 is rolling around, and they've been rolling out the ratings for the NFL rosters. And we have a lot of Ravens there in the 90 club. I believe they include Mark Andrews as a 95, Justin Tucker as a 91, Lamar Jackson as a 91, Ronnie Stanley at left tackle is a 90, and I believe there's one more that I can't remember at this point. Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith coming in at a 92 overall. Those are pretty cool ratings. Lamar Jackson's 91 overall is good for the 4th highest overall quarterback in Madden 24. That's pretty interesting. Dom, do you agree or disagree with these ratings?
As the Ravens fan bias, I will have to say that I don't know. I love Mark Andrews' rating. I feel like Mark Andrews' rating is accurate. I will give him that. I'll keep him at a 95. Roquan's, I feel like you can raise that. I feel like you can raise that a little bit. I really don't think there was a lot of. Behind Fred Warner, I feel as though I don't even know what Fred Warner's rating was, but I feel as though he should be right there up there with Fred Warner.
I think.
So I don't fully agree with Roquan's. The fact that Justin Tucker isn't just make the man a 99, bro. You gave him. You gave him 99 kick guard. You gave him 99 kick accuracy. You might as well just make the man a 99. Come on, man. Obviously, he was an honorary 99 last year, or whatever he kicked that record-breaking field goal against the Lions. But yeah, Stanley's rating I can agree with. Marlowe, the thing about Marlowe is I feel as though, yeah,
Oh yeah, Marlon
Marlowe,
Humphrey. That was
as
another
a
one.
93
Thank you.
overall. I mean, he was a shutdown corner last year, and like he was, and I feel like he's been getting a lot of flack lately, like not getting the respect he deserves as like a top. He was a top 5 corner last year. If you really want to like boil it down to like pass deflections, were there always interceptions? No, but as far as him being on the ball, he was a top 5 corner. He didn't allow any touchdowns last year, and I don't know. I feel like he should be a little bit higher. But other than that, Lamar, obviously 91. I feel as though we didn't see him fully last year, so I feel like that's kind of fair. Hopefully, if he decides to like show up and show out this year, they'll raise his rating as they normally do with players who tend to do that. But I have some disagreements and agreements with this. It's the ratings I would boost is probably Roquan's and Marlowe's, in my opinion. If we were like, if there were some adjustments to be made.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I looked at the linebacker ratings, the top 10. It's Fred Warner coming in first at 96, Max Crosby at 94, T.J. Watt at a 94, Roquan Smith at 92 in fourth place. See, I see what you're saying about the overalls, but I feel
The
like the rankings are
I agree,
pretty
are accurate.
accurate.
As far as like out of
Yeah,
all linebackers, I mean,
I
as
think
far as middle linebackers, I feel as though like he's not really that far off from Fred Warner, and that's just my opinion. I just don't think he's too far
um this so far he's I don't Max Crosby not a middle linebacker. Watt, so he's the second best
off.
linebacker. Because those two guys are main pass rushers. Max Crosby and T.J. Watt, Roquan Smith and Fred Warner are there at the top. So I don't blame them having Fred Warner up there above him. That's fine. As long as they give him abilities. If you guys don't know, Madden, if you played the new Maddens, they have abilities. If you're really good and have a 90 overall, you usually get abilities and stuff. But that's besides the point. But I think they're pretty good. I'm not against
I
Lamar
can't argue
Jackson
against
being a
Lamar's
91.
rating. I agree. I can't argue
Yeah,
with it because we didn't see him for a full year. Yeah, he's like a
he is the fastest
96 speed.
quarterback in the game.
I can cheese with
Yeah,
that, so I'm cool with that.
it's a little bit generous to put him at fourth.
What as far as
Is that
speed?
a little bit too high? So let me read you the quarterbacks. So we've got number one, Pat Mahomes, 99 club. Joe Burrow, 95, number 2. Number 3, Josh Allen, 94. And then Lamar, 91. And then 5, Jalen Hurts at 88. 6, Dak Prescott, 87. 7, Justin Herbert. 8, Aaron Rodgers. 9, Kirk Cousins. And 10, Tua. So is that a fair spot to be the fourth best
I
rated
think right now,
quarterback in Madden
yes,
24?
because they are like the top 5 quarterbacks
Okay.
in the league. I mean, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Jackson, and I feel like that fifth spot is a little interchangeable, probably. But the best quarterbacks right now are in the AFC. Like even Rodgers came over. So at this point, like, when all the best quarterbacks in the AFC, Lord, the NFC is going to be crazy this year. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but.
Yeah.
Back on topic. Yeah, I feel like that's fair right now because the other guys they played,
Okay.
we saw them all year last year, so I can't argue with that. We didn't really get a full season of Lamar, so I feel like 91. But when he's out there, he's still one of the best in the league right now. So, I mean, I feel like fourth right now is a great spot. We'll just see how he performs throughout the year. Again, he could get a ratings boost depending on how things go. But I think right now that's fair. Number 4 is fair for him.
Yeah, these ratings
Exactly.
are all subject to change. They go up or down each week of the NFL season. So if they have a good game, if you're not aware, if they have a good game week 1, their rating will spike. Or if they have a terrible game in week 4 or whatever, Madden will update them down a little bit. So
Yeah,
I think this is a very good
we got
start.
6
I think
players
it's
in
a
the
very
90
good
plus club. I can take that. You know, that not a lot of teams to say that.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be
yes,
excited to use the Baltimore
87
Ravens
overall for the
on
Ravens as a
the
whole coming into this Madden season. So
Okay.
I think that's top 10 too.
Okay.
So I can take that as long as they're not sleeping on us and they know. You know, so I'll take that. I can definitely take that.
Good. All right, good. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the topics we're going to cover tonight. Guys, we're in football season. Not much more waiting. Like we said, training camp about to start for all of our favorite teams. If you like Madden, Madden's about to drop. We are officially in the swing of 2023 NFL football season. We can't wait. We hope you're excited. Once again, leave comments for us, and we will definitely get back to you. If you would like to be a part of a special guest premiere like we've been doing the past couple weeks, feel free to reach out to us with our email or DM us on Instagram or anything you want to do. Or if you just want to comment and talk about your favorite team, or if you're good at Madden, if you want to play Dom, yeah, you can play Dom.
Okay,
He's easy to beat. If you
all
want to
right.
play a challenge,
I wish we would have recorded that game because I
definitely be
literally
good.
beat him. I just want you guys to know for the public, he's not unbeatable.
You better start recording. Yeah, better start recording. But yeah, so anyway, just let us know. Just hit us up. We definitely like to have you on, or play you in Madden, or just talk about your favorite team. So once again, guys, thank you so much. For those of you on YouTube, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Dom, any closing
Can't wait for
remarks?
training camp to start. We're all excited. 6 Sundays until week 1. We are ready to get this moving. I'm excited for it. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
All right, guys, take care.